Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to It's Good to Have Goals with Ryan and Bob. I'm Bob.
That's Ryan.
Ryan, what's the concept of our show?
So our concept is fairly simple. We're going to cover 3 to 5 individual games a week. This week it's 4. Some weeks it could be 3. Some weeks it could be 5. And then we're also going to cover what we're going to call the 5th game, which is games we didn't plan on covering. That we took individual noteworthy kind of moments and said, we'll talk about that briefly, which is similar to what our news section is going to be, where we're going to take noteworthy news, intriguing news, transfers, hirings, firings, club problems. We're going to put it all together. And then lastly, we're going to do a preview of what we're going to cover individually next week. So that could be, again, 3 to 4 or 5 games.
Looking forward to it.
So we're a pair, we're a duo, there's 2 of us. I'm Ryan. That's Bob, or Dad, whatever you want to call him. He is the Fairweather fan. He kind of supports stuff. He loosely supports Atletico Madrid, Leeds United, and the Phoenix Rising, the local team. We're from Arizona. And then I'm the real fan. I support Sheffield United, Atlanta United, and Athletic Bilbao, which is in Spain.
Right.
For you.
We are sponsored by our daughter Gigi's. She makes bread. We have monthly memberships available. And this week's bread special is a wonderful jalapeno cheddar. It's just fantastic.
And this week we're going to be reviewing the previous weekend of German football, or the Bundesliga.
The Bundesliga, yeah.
Okay, including Freiburg versus Bayer Leverkusen, Wolfsburg versus Eintracht Frankfurt, Schalke versus Werder Bremen, and Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Union Berlin.
How do you say that? Borussia?
Borussia
Mönchengladbach. Got it.
And then Union Berlin.
Fantastic. So, first game up on the docket. What caught your eye about this game here, Ryan?
This game was a lot of Leverkusen, a lot of possession. Probably 65-70% of the ball was with the Reds the entire game. But that's kind of how Freiburg want it to be played out. They kind of sit back and let you have the ball. They dare you to beat them, so to say. They don't think you can beat them. So
they let you have the ball.
More or less.
You can't score without the ball. Why would you want to give your competition the ball?
It's more of a tactic. It's like if I can't score on you, if I'm going to struggle to score on you because you're more talented, why not let you have the ball so we can draw you in?
So what's their setup? What's their?
They play in a 4-4-2.
4-4-2.
So 2 blocks of 4, and 2 strikers, and those 2 strikers often, especially in this game, will play defense, and they'll break on you. They'll see if they can get numbers and break, and that's how they'll get their goals.
Fantastic.
But this game they couldn't do it. Neither team could really get a shot. There were a lot of shots for Leverkusen, only 1 shot on goal. But Leverkusen, as you can see with the 1-0 victory, they took it quite well.
Player of the game?
For me, I think for most people it would have had to have been Kai Havertz who got the goal. His Bundesliga record goal. His 35th goal before turning the age of 21.
Is that good?
Makes him the highest scoring ever Bundesliga player before the age of 21. 35.
Who did he topple?
Honestly, I couldn't really tell you. I should. I can get that to you next week. That'll be
we'll put it in our news and
opening
next week.
Yeah.
All right.
But for me, I think the man of the match would have been Flo Wirtz, a young 17-year-old winger / midfielder / forward for Leverkusen.
Where's he from?
He's from Germany also, but he's a new arrival from another Bundesliga team, Köln, and he came straight into the squad. The first team has done really well since arriving. Has joined the first team. He's really good in tight spaces. And his ability in those tight spaces allowed Leverkusen to better break down the tight Freiburg 2 blocks of 4.
And I forget, where do these 2 teams stand in the table?
So Leverkusen, beginning of this game, was 5th. Was in the top 4 or 5 teams in the league. Freiburg were 8th.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
So, following the game, Freiburg still 8th, even though they lost. Leverkusen jumped back up to 3rd. They'll probably drop further off with Leipzig game tomorrow.
They win, but they go backwards?
They win, but they win to go forward, but they really stay the same. They were 5th, they'll stay 5th.
Okay.
But for Freiburg to be 8th is terrific for them, a small club, punching above their weight in the top division. Leverkusen, a team that's always going to be looking towards the Champions League places as their goal, and that's what they look like. That's where they look like they're going to finish.
All right. Anything else about this game?
No, not really. Again, a lot of Leverkusen, a team that took the deserved 3 points here.
Fantastic. Next.
Next we have Wolfsburg and Frankfurt, two teams that are of a similar level, similar level of players, similar level of coaching. Frankfurt last year were up in the 4, 5, 6 range, a Europa League team. This year they're in the 14, 15 range, kind of down towards the relegation fight. Last year Wolfsburg were in that 14 to 15 range, and this year they're up in 4, 5, 6.
Oh, fantastic.
Wolfsburg at the beginning of this game stood in 6th place, Frankfurt in 14th.
Oh, but they lost.
But Frankfurt's win jumped them to 12th, kind of out of the relegation fight. They're now looking at
That's
safety.
always nice.
Wolfsburg stayed 6th, but big loss for them in the way that the league is kind of catching up to them when they had a chance to pull away from the league.
And is Wolfsburg, is there a big corporate sponsor?
Volkswagen.
Volkswagen
is the big corporate sponsor there.
Pretty good for me, isn't
That
it?
is very good for you. I think I've told you that a couple times. But yeah, so Frankfurt picked up the win. Wolfsburg dominated the first 30 minutes of the game. Frankfurt did get a goal from the penalty spot in the 27th minute from Andre Silva.
That's always nice. Exciting.
It is easy opportunity to get a goal. They took it. They
We
took
call
1-0
it
lead.
set pieces.
Set piece, spot kick. Yeah. Wolfsburg got a goal from another set piece, a free kick, scored by right back Kevin Mbabu, a Swiss international.
What minute do you remember?
59-60 range.
So it was 1-1 at that
It was
time?
1-1.
Oh,
Yep.
fantastic.
And then the goal scorer for Frankfurt, Silva, exited the game in the 77th minute for another striker. Big, tall, 6'4", Bas Dost.
Comes in fresh.
Comes in fresh, ready to go. Different kind of play style there. There are two teams that like to be physical.
And what minute did they get the second goal in?
They got the second goal in the 85th minute on a cross to Dost. Dost headed it back across. Daichi Kamada, the Japanese international, kind of arrived late and tapped it home for the winner.
Fantastic.
There are two teams that like to play physical, especially when Frankfurt has Dost on the field. They like to go long. They don't mess around with it in the back. They just kind of aggressively kind of put it up there. Say, we're not going to play with it. We're just going to go straight to goal.
Anything else to mention in this game?
Not really. Again, Dost was probably the man of the match for his late game inclusions. David Abraham, the Frankfurt captain, could also get a shout for that. They're an average team. They're probably a top 7-8 team in the Bundesliga when he plays, when their captain plays. When he doesn't, they really struggle, as in a 15th, 16th place team. So he's a key player for them. He returns today. They get a win. They kind of distance themselves from the relegation zone.
All right. Next.
Next, we've got Schalke and Werder Bremen.
Werder Bremen.
The W is a V sort of pronunciation.
Bremen.
Pronunciation.
And Schalke.
Werder Bremen picked up the win, got all 3 points again. They scored in the first half. They dominated the entire first half. 45 minutes. First 45 minutes, Werder Bremen all over Schalke, a team that very early on in the season were really, really good. But have since about the halfway point of the season, have really struggled.
Fallen off.
And have fallen
Injuries?
Injuries, issues with lineup changes, stuff like that.
You like their coach?
I do like their coach.
Okay.
He's a very good coach.
You're normally hard on coaches.
David Wagner. He's American, kind of. Not really. He's German. German-American.
Kind of not really?
Kind of not really American. More German.
All right.
But I do like him. He's a very good coach. But they've struggled with injuries, like you said. Werder Bremen dominated the first 45 minutes. Leandro Bittencourt, the German, he's not an
Their
international.
logo looks like they're punching each other. Two snakes.
In the Werder Bremen one, yeah. I can get behind that. Leandro Bittencourt scored a goal from about 25 yards out. After a high-pressure situation, Werder Bremen won the ball.
I like high pressure.
From Davy Klaassen, who was probably the man of the match.
Man of the
His ability in the midfield to win that ball. He won about 85% of his duels, probably.
That's pretty good.
Which is very good. Not
Tall guy?
No,
Just quick?
About 5'10", which is average size. But Leandro Bittencourt,
5'10" and an 8th.
Yeah, he got a goal from about 25 yards out, top left corner. Really, really tough shot to save.
Beautiful.
Second half was the exact opposite. The tale of two halves there, to use the cliche. Schalke dominated the second 45 after Werder Bremen dominated the first 45. I would say Werder Bremen got the deserved points. Deserved all 3 points. And I mean, it's a big win for them. A team that's sitting in 17th, sitting in the relegation
right there
zone.
in the bubble.
That win brings them only 2 points from 16th, only 3 points from automatic safety. Massive win for them. A team that really was terrible in the beginning half of the season. They stuck with their coach, they stuck with their players, and it's really paid off in the end here. They're starting to pick up steam. and I think they're going to stay. I think they're going to avoid the draw.
And you said who was the man of the match?
Davy Klassen, the guy who picked up who won the ball in the midfield and eventually set up the winning goal.
Fantastic.
In other words, in this game, anything else you want to look at? 2 Americans playing.
All right.
Josh Sargent, a striker for Werder Bremen, didn't really do much going
Do you know
forward.
what part of the Americas he came out of?
He's from St. Louis.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Fantastic.
But
Who else? Who's the other American?
Weston McKinney, who plays for Schalke. He's from Texas.
I wonder if he's from McKinney, Texas.
I don't know. That'd be a good research there. I doubt it.
All right. Anything else in this match?
Not really. Again, the 2 Americans. Sargent was much better than McKinney on this day. McKinney struggled to pick up the ball. Sargent was not very effective going forward, which is strange for a striker, but very effective defensively in terms of a presser and a dropper. He had a chance at man of the match, I think, if you look at it that way.
All right. Next,
we've got Gladbach versus Union Berlin, and this was a dominant performance from Gladbach, a team that are sitting high up the table, 3, 4, 5 spot.
Perennial champion up there?
Not necessarily a perennial champion, a perennial Europa League contender is what I would call them. A team that's normally going to finish 5, 6, 7 range, or they're 3, 4, 5 this year. They play a very direct kind of high octane sort of offense against an Union team that have just come up after nearly 40 years out of the division.
Wow.
An East German side.
Is that like probably one of the most that's been not able to get up?
Well, some teams never make it up.
That's true.
In terms of teams that have been there and never done anything, they're probably one of them. Again, a Berlin side that were on the eastern side of the wall really hinders them.
Yeah.
Really hindered their historical ability to be a contender. Gladbach, though, 4-1. Marcus Thuram, son of former World Cup winner Lilian Thuram. He was a defender. Marcus is a striker. Grabs 2 goals today. He's probably the man of the match. Florian Neuhaus, another French player. A lot of French players at Mönchengladbach there. He was
not good enough to make it for Pierre Saint-Germain.
No, probably. Gladbach just has very good connections in that sort of region. Neuhaus dominated the midfield, grabbed the first goal, had a shot, hit the left post, hit the right post, went in. Really, really rare for that to happen.
Left post and right. Where was the goalie?
Left post and right post. Goalie was beaten. He dove on the left post, just missed the ball. It was a good.
Then did it go? Obviously went. Wow.
It was a well taken hit from Neuhaus.
I'll have to watch that one on replay.
But for me, again, Gladbach, the whole season have looked like a team that deserves to be a Champions League team. Whether they get there or not is the question. They need to try and hold off. They need to try and hold off a Leverkusen team that have been good lately and a Leipzig team that are probably the 3rd best team in Germany. So I think for me they'll finish 5th, which would be a shame for them to have been arguably the 3rd or 4th best team, but not get the Champions League spot.
Maybe next year.
And
are they a young team, old team, rebuilding?
Young teams in soccer that, like them, are not teams that stick around. They're teams that lose a lot of their players to the bigger clubs. So you're not going to see a Mönchengladbach win a lot, because if they have a good young team, they'll get poached away by bigger clubs like a Bayern Munich or a Borussia Dortmund.
Or the Oakland A's.
Similar to the Oakland A's.
Fantastic. We do the man of the match of this game yet?
Thuram. Marcus Thuram. For Union, I mean, they never had a chance of winning. Gladbach looked the better side all 90 minutes. For them, they were sort of sitting pretty in the table, not really looking at a relegation spot. This loss for them kind of makes it close.
Ouch.
4 points ahead of 16th, which is the relegation playoff where they play the 3rd best team from the 2nd division.
I'd hate to see them go back.
I think based on their form, if you take this game out, they're a team that looks likely to be safe
Nice.
in the long run. So that's very good for them.
Anything else on this game?
No, not much. Next, we've got our 5th game segment, which is key points from other games around the globe.
What do you have for us this week?
This week we've got an interesting. We've got a bunch of all the other German games really. Alphonso Davies, Canadian international, left back, best player in North America for my money.
How old is he?
He's 19,
wow.
20, left back. Came through the Vancouver Whitecaps MLS Academy team.
Fantastic.
Was 16 when he made his debut there. Quickly became the hottest prospect in MLS. Probably the best success story out of MLS to date so far.
Never heard of him.
He's left back. He's for my money, he's the best player in North America. Better than Christian Pulisic. Better than your boy and my boy Gio Reyna.
Gio.
I think he'll be fantastic one day, though.
Okay.
But he scores. Lewandowski gets 2 as Bayern beat Dusseldorf to go 7 points clear of Borussia Dortmund.
5-0?
5-0.
Man.
But, yeah, so
Crowd
Bayern...
must have gone crazy.
If there was a crowd...
No crowd.
I'm sure the crowd would have gone crazy, but there was no crowd. They go 7 points clear. 5 games to go. Bayern Munich, 8th straight title, looks likely. Elsewhere, Hoffenheim get a win away at Mainz to go level on points with Wolfsburg for that 6th position or the final Europa League spot.
Big.
So Hoffenheim were a team that struggled early, having been a Champions League contender the previous 2 or 3 years.
Oh, nice.
They struggled early. They've kind of come back strong.
Battling their way back in.
Similar to Hertha Berlin, who are undefeated in their last 8 and undefeated in their last 4 since Bruno Labbadia arrived. And they've looked very good since Labbadia arrived as their head coach. Really,
Where did Labbadia coach before that?
He coached at Wolfsburg a year ago, and he's always had a lot of success where he's gone. I didn't pay much attention to the hire, but looking back on it, it's a very good hire, very quality hire from Hertha Berlin. A team that were struggling so badly they had to go hire Jurgen Klinsmann.
A coach
that I'm not high on, but I think he has his moments. This just wasn't one of his moments. But Labadia's turned them really from a flashy team to a team that's going to fight for every single point, every single minute of the game, and they've really benefited from that. They win again to jump back into Europa League contention. They're in 10th. They're in 10th. They're in the 9-10 range. They're going to be looking at a lot of opportunities over the next 5-6 games to really try and make the Europa League, which would be a great story for them there.
So tell me about Sancho's hat trick.
So Jadon Sancho, English international, maybe one of the best young players in the world, probably among the best teenagers in the world.
How old?
19. He's getting up there. He's old. But he grabs a hat trick, 3 goals.
Nice.
Also grabs an assist along the way. Dortmund beat Paderborn 6-1. Paderborn, the worst team in the league, bottom.
Ouch.
Good story for them to be in the Bundesliga this year, but not looking like it's going to last. Dortmund, they keep pace with Bayern, but they're still 7 points back. So they're matching win with win, but it's probably too high of a mountain to climb in order to win the title.
Yep, they are tough to beat. All right, what do we got in the news this week in football?
News is anything we think is noteworthy. So hirings. So such as if we had started this 2 weeks ago, we would have said Bruno Labbadia gets hired over the coronavirus break. He's come in and had a lot of success. Firings. So we would have said Jurgen Klinsmann if we started a couple months ago.
Your boy.
Didn't have a lot of success. Was only there for 70 days. Problems at the club. So we would say financial problems. So the team's struggling to pay the bills. The team's struggling to keep players on tap. And then transfers, which is our first piece of news we have for this week. Our first piece of news, obviously, like I said, is a transfer. Mauro Icardi, the Argentine striker, agrees to a deal in principle for PSG.
Is France playing soccer right now?
France is not playing soccer. They canceled their league. PSG was well and truly ahead. They said, have the title.
Have at it.
But Icardi, who was really good in the beginning of the year for PSG, has struggled towards the second half. But he signs a deal in principle, so he hasn't put pen to paper.
Yeah.
But the team want to buy. He wants to go to PSG. The team he's currently at, Inter, who he's on loan at PSG from Inter. Inter want to sell him to PSG. A lot going on there, I guess, but
too much for me.
Too much for you.
So Mario's going to PSG.
Yes.
And the leagues are starting up in the middle of June.
The leagues are starting up in the middle of June. Premier League, June 17th. La Liga, June 12th. Serie A, June 20th. That's Italy.
So let me ask you this. You got the Bundesliga, and you got the, obviously Premier League. Everyone wants to watch that. So La Liga, Bundesliga, or Serie A, which one of those leagues you like watching the best?
It all depends.
They're the same style?
It all depends. No, they're completely different styles often. Bundesliga is probably a more, if you want goals, you're going to want to watch the Bundesliga. If you're going to want to watch really good football, like play out of the back, a lot of possession-based teams that want to have the ball, you're going to look at La Liga, at Spain. If you want to see a lot of patient. If you want to see more of a tactical kind of battle in terms of two coaches going at it, you're probably going to want to look at Italy, Serie A.
All right.
Sort of that, and then obviously the Premier League is a bit of everything.
Yep. Fantastic. What do we got next?
Next up, we have our previews for next week. So this is going to be our 4 games. We're going to individually
look into the future.
Yep, our 4 games we're going to individually cover next week. It could be 3, could be 4, could be 5. This week it's 4. Or next week it's 4, technically.
All right.
We're going to give you some key players and possibly our predictions. So first up, we've got RB Leipzig, another team that's sitting in the top 3 to 4, 5 Champions
RB
League.
stands for Red Bull.
Red Bull. Yep.
It's pretty good for me.
And we're also going to have Paderborn, who are the team that lost 6-1 to Dortmund at the week, dead last. Great story from them, though. To be
Leipzig was going to smoke them then.
to be third division 2 years ago, promotion to the second division, another promotion to the first division, 2 promotions in
but
2
they're going to
years.
get relegated.
They look like they're going to head straight back down,
Yeah.
which is
Nice
sad
little
for them, but good story. That being said, Leipzig, a team that's fighting at the top of the table, Paderborn, a team that's looking towards going back to the second division. I see this as an easy win for Leipzig. I'm saying 3-0. You've gone 4-0, so you're going a little bit more bold there.
Yep.
Expect Timo Werner, a player who's highly rated, linked with Liverpool. Timo Werner, German international. Linked with Bayern, Liverpool, Chelsea, all the big clubs. Expect him to have a field day. Probably get a goal or 2.
Fantastic. Who's next?
Next, we've got Dortmund and Hertha.
Dortmund. Doesn't my boy play for Dortmund?
Gio does play for Dortmund. And
good for me.
this is my sneaky game of the week. Hertha team again have picked up 3 wins and a draw since the arrival of Labadia. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's 9 points, and then a draw is worth 1. That's 10 points in 4 matches. That's very good. That's 2.5 points a game. They've been really hard to beat, which is something you normally don't say about a Hertha team. And that prediction alone right there makes me believe it's going to be a 1-1 draw. And I think here you want to look at Gio Reyna, hoping to get some minutes, and probably for other people, Jadon Sancho to continue his goal scoring form. He's in form.
All right.
He's a man in form.
And what do I have again?
I think you have a 2-1. Yeah, you have a 2-1 win. You're leaning Dortmund. You're leaning for the.
Yeah.
You're leaning for the power there.
Gio could have a hat trick. I might.
Gio is not going to have a hat trick.
Put that on tape. Gio's going to have a hat trick.
Gio has a hat trick. I'll give him $20.
American or
American.
Deutsche Bank.
American. Next up, we've got Augsburg versus your favorite team, Cologne.
I like the GOAT.
He does like the GOAT. And this is a game really simple for me. I think it's a simple prediction for me. I'm saying Cologne picks up a 2-1 win solely based on the fact that Cologne are a more stable team, a team that likes to go forward and get goals, doesn't always get the goals they want, versus Augsburg, a team that are slightly more up and down. One week they can be very good, other weeks they can look like the worst team in the division. And for me, I'm saying Cologne simply off the fact that stability for me is better than a potential.
I bet you I go 2-0.
I think you had Cologne 2-0. Way to know your prediction there.
Thank you.
And so we're both on Cologne. We're both on the stability there.
Yep. And I'm taking Munchen.
Lastly, we have our game of the week. We're both on Bayern Munich.
But Leverkusen's pretty good though.
Leverkusen is another Champions League contending team, led by Kai Havertz, the young striker / midfielder for Leverkusen.
Fantastic.
Munich led by Thomas Muller, who leads the league in assists. Very good player. I would expect him to kind of control the game from an attacking sense for Bayern. I've gone 3-1 for Bayern. I think they score a lot. They will want to score a lot of goals. Leverkusen should be good enough to get a goal. It'll be an interesting kind of matchup of 2 teams that are very good to see how good Bayern is compared to the rest of the league.
I think I predicted Munchen, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer. Well, yeah, 2-0. I go with that.
It's a little more conservative, but again, we're both on Bayern.
Yeah, Leverkusen.
They seem
2-1 maybe.
Bayern seem the likely winners here.
Fantastic. Any other games next week?
Not that we're going to cover individually. Again, we could have some stuff in there for the 5th game though, if you keep watching.
Anything else that we missed on today's show?
No, and that's all we really have. Thank you for watching,
okay.
I guess.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Thanks to our staff. Y'all have a great day.